I personally have a way I take my measurements so that I'm sure I'm not forgetting anything. So I'm going to be taking you through that step-by-step method also. You can also devise your own method, but you can adopt mine too. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be doing this today again. To my returning subscribers, I want to say thank you. To my new subscribers, please like, share to all your friends and family. Okay, so today I'm going to be teaching you how to take the female body measurement the right way. I'm trying to explain the tape rule to you before we start the measurement. There's the inch side and there is this centimeter side. Here in Nigeria, we use the inch side. This is 0, this is 1. Now, in between 0 and 1, there is half. There's this long line. In between 0 and half also, there's another semi-long line, if that's what I would call it. It's quarter. Now, 0, quarter, half, 3/4, and 1 inch. Same thing goes 1 and 1/4, 1 and half, 1 and 3/4, 2 and 1/4, 2 and half, 2 and 3/4, 2 and eventually 3, and so like that till the end of your tape. So I'm going to be using the inch side of my tape to take measurements. Today with me is going to be my model. Mary, come close. So Mary is going to be our model for this measurement. Okay, so I would like to also say this, that the human body is just a, what will I call it now? Combination of length and breadth. I like to call it round so that nobody's missing. This is length, whatever length you are taking. I personally have a way I take my measurements so that I'm sure I'm not forgetting anything. So I'm going to be taking you through that step-by-step method also. You can also devise your own method, but you can adopt mine too. I am doing this. So the first thing I like to do is to take my shoulder measurement. And my shoulder measurement is 15¼ for Mary. But I need you to also notice that I am not trying to follow the back. I'm following my shoulder slope. I don't know if you noticed that. For Mary, this is 15¼ The next thing I like to do is to take my sleeve length measurement. Now, I want to do, Mary, you want to turn? Thank you. I want to put my tape at that point where I stopped for my shoulder. I put my tape there and I ask Mary, I communicate with my clients, where do you want your sleeve to be? Or where is the shortest sleeve you can wear? Mary, where is the short?
Yeah.
The short?
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah, it's
Okay. Then I want to take that down. The next thing I want to do is to take the just before the elbow measurement. I don't know. Yes, my camera is taking this. Just before the elbow. I don't know if you can see where my hand is. Not the elbow. Just before the elbow. I want to take that length measurement. So for Mary, the shortest sleeve is 6 inches. Just before the elbow, 11 inches. Then 3/4. I like to take the middle of this wrist and this elbow. Just the middle. That's where I like to do my 3/4. Of course, different people with different things they like, so you can always communicate with your clients. So for Mary, it's 18 for our 3/4 sleeve length, then 22½ at the wrist. Then I take that measurement and I write it down. Now I want to take my round sleeve measurement. As I said, our human body is length and breadth. So I want to take the fullest part of a arm. And notice that I am not doing this. I'm not taking armhole measurement. I'm taking round sleeve measurement. So I just want to take the fullest part of her arm. Mary, you want to relax? Yes. Let your clients always relax, because when they are not comfortable, that's when you get wrong measurements. The clothes becomes extremely tight and all that, because when they are not relaxed, their muscles tend to shrink and you get less measurement. So let them always be relaxed. Now I'm going round her sleeve, just under her armpit and round, not this. No, round the fullest part. For Mary, this is 11.5. Then now I'm going to measure round that 6 inches I measured for the length, the sleeve length. For Mary, this is 10 inches. I'm going to measure round the elbow also. For Mary, it is 9.5 inch. Let's tilt a little bit. Notice that I'm not putting all my fingers into a measurement. Just one finger is what I'm doing in a measurement. The next thing I want to do is round that 3/4 measurement I measured. The next thing I want to do is round the wrist. Okay, for this wrist, it's a two-way thing. You can measure round, but when you are sewing, you have to increase because, of course, the fist has to pass through. But depending on the fabric you are working on, you can always tilt. So I always advise that you take the exact measurements because you don't know what fabric you'll be working with eventually. I've taken shoulder measurements, I've taken sleeve length, I've taken round. The next thing I want to do is to take length measurement. That's the body, the main body measurement. First thing I want to do is to get a rope or anything. It can even be another tape rule or whatever rope. It could be your shoelace too, anything. Just tie round the natural waist. You want to see your natural waist of your client. You want to tie this. If you see properly, it's on a waist. Yes, so I want to start taking the length measurement. The first length measurement I like to take is the bust point. The bust point is the nipple point, and watch where my tape is starting from. My tape is starting from that neckline, that shoulder line that we took, that shoulder slope, and where the neck meets, where the shoulder, let me do this, where the shoulder slope is and where the neck meets. I'm not doing this because this reduces my measurement, it reduces my length, but I'm doing this because that is where my neck starts, and that's where I'll be placing all my measurements eventually when I start pattern drafting. So from that point, I'm just holding my tape there lightly. Of course, you don't want to discomfort your client. And I'm doing the nipple, the bust point. It's called bust point, but the bust point is the shoulder to your nipple. Now for Mary, this is 10 inches. The next length measurement I like to take is the under bust measurement. What's the under bust measurement? The shoulder to under the bust. Mary, you want to tilt a little bit. Notice that I'm following the shape of my bust. I'm not just doing like this. I'm following the shape of my bust, and that is 14.5 for Mary. The next thing I would like to do is to know my waist measurement. For Mary, this is 17.5. Where this rope is, that's where Mary's waist is, and this is 17.5. The next thing I like to take for my length measurement is my shoulder to hip measurement. Now, I don't know how else to explain this, but the woman figure has this V thing. So the point where that V ends is where I like to mark as my hip point. So this is, for Mary, this is 26 inches. Okay. I want to say this before I continue. Because some people do ready to wear. So I understand that most times you don't even know who you're making the dresses for. But there are standards, and I'm going to be sharing that in my subsequent videos, my next videos. So you want to stay tuned, you want to subscribe, you want to hit the notification bell so that you know when I drop those videos. So I'll be sharing those standards, and this can also work with clients if maybe the client is not willing, maybe came in with an outfit that you can't really measure, or you can't really touch the body, or whatever excuse it is. So I'll be dropping that in subsequent videos. So the next thing I want to do is to take my knee measurement. Now see what is happening now. All I'm doing now is holding my hip measurement. I've left my shoulder. So as much as possible, you don't want to stress yourself. Now, my knee measurement is actually not the knee itself. The knee measurement is where this shape, I don't know if you can see from Mary's body, but there's this shape, this hip muscle gives. That place where it just ends, and is most times, you want to stand straight, Mary. The place where it just ends is where your knee measurement, shoulder to knee. Why do we do this? If you take the measurements down to the knee, your client will not be able to walk. But when you stop here, where that muscle, that hip muscle stops, I don't know what it's called, but that place stops. That's where your knee, your client will be able to walk. The next thing I want to take is my floor length. That's your dress length. Of course, if you want to take the 3/4 length, you want to take the knee length and all that, maybe for different styles and all that. But I can teach you how to manipulate all that if you keep watching our channel. Of course, you get to know how to figure all that out. Then the next thing is your foot floor length measurement. Another thing you want to do is to tell your client to tiptoe. Mary, please can you tiptoe? Tiptoe, that's for long dresses. Tiptoe, like be on your knee. Yes, it's always longer, of course. Another length measurement you want to take is maybe blouse measurement. This is the under bust. Then I ask my client, where do you like your blouse to stop? Yes, so here I take that record down. The next thing I want to do is to take my skirt measurement. Now, my skirt measurement I take from the side. Now, I'm going to talk to my client. Where do you put your skirts? Okay, now, this is where they put their skirts. Now, I measure, and I try to use my eye to gauge that point again. And I come to the side, and I see what measurement it is. And for Mary, this is about 6 inches. For Mary, this is 6 inches. Then that knee, that point again, where the hip muscle, I don't know what's called in physiotherapy, but that hip muscle, where it just stops, is always before the knee. I mark that measurement, then the skirt length. This also works for trousers. So we have the skirt waist, trouser waist to the hip. We have the skirt waist or trouser waist to the knee. We have the skirt waist or the trouser waist to the floor. That's the length, the full length of the trouser. Another thing I forgot to add to my length measurement, sorry, I need to say, is the back length measurement. Now, that same point where we are taking our front measurements from, I'll put my tape there, the shoulder slope and where the neck meets. Then I take the back length measurement. For Mary, this is 15 inches. Our front length measurement was 17.5, right? Then the back is 15 inches. You want to also write that down. I hope I'm not boring you guys with this already, but I'm going to do it the fast way so that you understand what I'm saying. So next thing I want to do is to take my round measurement. Now, this is going to be very fast. The first thing I want to do is to take my bust measurement. Bust. Now, this is the fullest round part of the bust. See how my tape goes. Maybe you want to turn around a little bit. Turn around. Yes. Now, see my tape behind. My tape is not like this. No. My tape is round the bust. And my client in a relaxed position. Not just anyhow. And also, when you are taking any form of round measurement, you want to make sure that you are not putting your hands into the measurement. You are not adding to the specimen. Just one finger to hold the tape. And that's all you need. Round. For Mary, this is 36.5. I'm going to do round under bust. Round just under the bust. And for Mary, this is 30. Watch my tape behind too. It's not going lower. No, I don't want that. I want it to just be straight. Straight round the under bust. And this is 29.5. This is 29. Let me see. Okay, for Mary, this is 28. Let's do this again. Relax. I need you to be relaxed. This is 30. Yes, the under bust. Now we want to do the waist measurement. Now the waist measurement is just where your rope is. And this is 28.5 for Mary. The next thing is our hip measurement. The hip measurement. This is 35.5. You want to take your tape up and down to be sure that is the fullest part of the hip. You want to do this again and again because this can be a little bit tricky, but do it as much as possible. So the next round measurement I want to do is for my trouser. You remember where she mentioned that she puts her trouser or her skirt is the trouser waist, round the trouser waist. So you want to make that a little bit firmer than all the other round measurements. Why? Because it has to be firm. Your trouser can be falling off your waist or your skirt can be falling off your waist. So for Mary, this is 32. This is where you put your trouser, right? The next thing I want to do is my lap measurement, and we are almost done. You want to measure the fullest part of the lap. The fullest part of the lap. This is 21. You want to measure around the knee, that place where the hip muscle, I don't know what it's called, stops. You want to measure around. This is 15.5. You want to measure round the ankle too. Okay, so this is also tricky, just like the wrist. You want to add measurements to this point when you are sewing the outfits actually, but when you are working with a stretchy fabric, you can of course work with the exact measurements. I'll always advise that you work with the exact measurements. Why? Because you can always manipulate that. You can always increase, add to it and all that. But when you don't have the exact measurement, when you have to make a bespoke dress, a couture dress, then how do you do the work? So this is the end of this video. I really appreciate you guys for staying with me. This is the perfect way to take your measurements. I'm going to be showing you a list. I'm going to write that down and show you so that you can just follow and get your right measurement. Here is the list of a complete female body measurement. And like I said in the video, I would start with my shoulder, my sleeve length, the short, elbow, 3/4, full length, round sleeve length, round the sleeve, the fullest part of my sleeve, the round of my short length, the round of my elbow, the round of my 3/4, the round of my wrist. Now the length measurement. This is not so tedious. It may be looking so much here, but it's something that we can do in 5 minutes. Now bust point, that's my shoulder to nipple. The under bust is shoulder to under bust. The waist length, shoulder to waist. The back waist length, shoulder to the back waist. That's going through the back like I showed in the video. Then shoulder to hip, shoulder to knee, the full length. The next thing is the length for your skirt or your trouser. Skirt waist, of course you want to ask your clients where your skirt waist is to the hip, skirt waist to the knee, skirt waist to the floor length or whatever length, 3/4 length, knee length and all that. The next thing is our round measurement. Human beings are a combination of length and round or breadth, whatever way you want to call it. Then the next thing is our round measurement. The round the bust, round under bust, round waist, round hip. The next thing is our round skirt waist. The hip, you already have it here, but if you are just measuring for a skirt or trouser, then you just want to measure just the hip. Then round the lap, the fullest part of the lap, round one knee, round the ankle. So this is the end of my video. If this was helpful, I would really like that you like the video, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and see you in the next video. Bye.